Okay, so I'm gonna go with my LA Girls Pro Concealer in Chestnut. I'll be using that as my primer, and I'll be taking that on a flat brush. And I don't set it with powder. I'm just gonna leave it like it is, just the concealer on my eye. And then I'm going in with the Morphe, what's it called? 9D Painted Desert, I think palette. That palette is dirty, I'm sorry. But anyways, I'm gonna go in with that shade right there, the little middle one in the first row, and I'm gonna take that on a fluffy brush, and I'll be basically putting that all over my eye. And yeah. And then I'm gonna go in my Juvia's Place chocolate palette, and I'll be taking the first shade, that little dark chocolate, no, that light brown one, and I'll be basically putting that on another fluffy brush, and I'll be basically putting that in my crease to kind of like add a gradient effect to the eyeshadow. And yeah. Then I'm gonna go back in with that same palette, and then I'm gonna use that dark one right there on another fluffy brush, and I'll be basically taking that on the remaining part of my eye and basically kind of darken it up a little bit. And a side note, I went back in that orange brown one and back in that same palette to kind of bring back some of that orange. And then to make the cut crease, I'm going to use my LA Girls Pro Concealer in Chestnut and a flat brush. And I'll be basically making a half cut crease. And all I do is just put a little bit on my eyelid and look up and then just carve out where it is. And then I'm gonna go in my not Black Radiance, Beauty Bay Bright Matte palette, and I'm gonna use that yellow in the palette, and I'll be basically taking that on my flat brush, and then I'll be putting that towards my inner corner and kind of like halfway across the cut crease, but not all the way. Then going back into that same palette, I'm going to take that orange and using the same brush but just cleaning it off. I'll be basically taking that orange and putting on the remaining part of where I cut my crease and kind of make sure I blended those two colors together because sometimes orange and yellows kind of like fade a little bit. So I'm like going back in between those two to make everything look even. And then I'm going back into that Juvia's Place palette. I'm gonna take that dark brown from earlier, and I'm be taking that on more like a smaller brush, and I'll be basically putting that where that orange is, and kind of finishing off the cut crease so everything looks even, and blend it together. And then I'm gonna go in my Amrezy, whatever palette, and then I'm gonna go in with that golden glitter shade right there, and I'm gonna take that on the angle brush, and yeah, and I would put that across the crease. But before that, I had put down some NYX glitter primer, but yeah, I'm gonna do that. I don't know how to explain it, but I guess it's right there. And then I'm going my ColourPop BFF eyeliner in Grande, and I'll be basically using that as my eyeliner for today. I'm starting to like brown eyeliner. Something about it just hit different than the black ones. It'll look cute with black, but brown just ties it in together to make it fall, I guess. Then I'm going in my Morphe 9D palette again, and then I'm going to take that golden one up there in the corner, and I'm using that as my inner corner highlight. And for mascara, I'll be using the Essence, the Lash Princess one in the purple tube. and I'll be basically using that as my mascara. And then after that, I put on my favorite pair of lashes. It was the INVA, I think 14. I think it's 14 or 16, but I have it down below. But I'll be basically putting those on. And then I'm going this NYX Epic Wear eye pencil. It's supposed to be an eyeliner, but I used it in my waterline to kind of create some like color in my waterline. That probably didn't make any sense, but yeah. And I use that as like a waterline pencil thing. And it's really cool because in light it goes from orange to yellow and it kind of matches the look, so I like it. And then for face primer, I'll be going in my Fourth Ray Beauty Tumeric face milk, and I'll be using that on the lower parts of my face, my cheeks, my chin, and my nose. And it adds like a glowy effect to the skin. Okay, and then I'm gonna go in with my e.l.f. Putty Poreless Primer, and I'll be basically taking that on the cheeks and chin area of my nose to kind of help with my pores a little bit. And then for foundation, I'll be using two. I'll be using my NYX Can't Stop, Won't Stop in Sable, and I'll be using my Maybelline Dream Cover Effect in Truffle. And I'll be blending those two colors foundations together. Well, they're still colors, but still foundations. And then I'm going to go back in using my LA Girls Pro Concealer in Chestnut and basically highlighting my face. And I'll be taking that on the sides of my nose, my chin, my forehead. And I'll be cleaning up my eyeshadow on the side where that wing eyeliner is. And blend that out using a Real Technique sponge that I got from Five Below. And then I'm going to go in my e.l.f. Putty Bronzer in Sunkissed. And I'll be basically taking that on the perimeters of my face. I'm kind of using that as like a contour and bronzer type thing. Like using one product for two things. And yeah. And I'll be going that on my nose too. And for powder, I'll be using my Makeup Revolution Banana Deep Powder. And I'll be basically kind of setting where I had put that concealer and also kind of like carving out that bronzer I had used earlier. And yeah, to kind of create like a reverse contour situation, I guess. I don't know. I forgot the name for it, but yeah. And I'll be basically taking that same powder down the sides of my nose too. Okay, to set the bronzer in place, I'll be using my Black Radiance True Complexion Contour Palette in Dark to Deep. And I'll be basically putting that some on my nose and around the areas of where I put that bronzer. And okay, and then I'm going in my Milani liquid cheek kiss blush in 160. Yeah, 160. And I'll be mixing that in with the Juvia's Place Warrior 2 eyeshadows, and I'll be using the orange one, and yeah, I'll basically using that orange one and a little bit of the pink one. I'll be using both. Just use both. And I'll be basically taking that on like a fluffy blush brush, and I'll be using that as blush. Okay, and then I'll be going in with my Black Radiance like finishing powder. Can't think of the name. It's the finishing powder, and I'll be taking that on like a dense fluffy brush, and I'll be basically brushing the powder away, the baking powder away. And yeah. And then I'm going to go back into my Juvia's Place chocolate palette, and I'll be basically using the first two colors I used earlier, the dark brown one and like the medium brown one. And I'll be basically using those underneath my eyes to kind of finish off the eyeshadow look. And then for highlight, I'll be using my Beauty Creations Cali Glow highlight in Manhattan. And I'll be taking that on like a highlighter brush. And I like this highlighter because it looks natural. It doesn't look like I'm wearing highlighter. And yeah. And I'll be basically taking that highlight on my cheeks, my brow bone, and my upper lip, and a little bit on my nose. Okay, and for setting spray, I'll be using my NYX Radiant Finish setting spray. And I like this setting spray because it gives the makeup look matte, but also look radiant at the same time, because there's like little gold flakes, like shimmery flakes. You can't see them, but like you can see them, but it just makes your makeup look glowy and dewy. Okay, so for lip liner, I'll be using my NYX lip liner in espresso, and I'll be lining my lips and blotting them together. And then I'm going with my MAC Cream of Your Coffee lipstick, and I'll be using that. And then on top of that, I'll be using my NYX liquid lipstick in Teddy. And then I'm going to go in with my e.l.f. putty bronzer to kind of bring some like brownness to the look. And yeah. And I mix all that together, and you can leave it just like that because it's kind of perfect to have like a matte brown. But you know, me being extra, I wanted to add a lip gloss because I just felt like I needed a lip gloss, and I just put on a lip gloss I got from the drugstore. So yeah. Okay, so that is it for today's video. Thanks so much for watching. All the products will be linked in the description box below. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and all that cool stuff. And yeah, see you guys later. Bye. Told you wasn't with me waking up. Now you said I did this,